Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley.
Hello.
Here we go. Wow, what a roller coaster ride that was in the oil markets yesterday, huh?
Oh my gosh. Well, all the markets.
Yeah.
Seriously, man. The Dow was down, way down.
800, I think, at one point?
No, it's further than that. I saw it down at 900 during the daytime trading, yeah. And then huge swing, thankfully.
200 and something up, I think.
239 on the Dow and 308 on the Nasdaq. So oil is, while it's still fluctuating, now down below 100, it's at 90 and change now. Brent crude, that's the type of crude they produce in Iran. Actually, I don't know if they're producing anything right now, but in that region, 94 and change on Brent crude. So down below 100, I drove by the gas station, and it was the one down here, which is one of the, it's one of those known for lower prices. So I checked on that, still at $3.49. Over the weekend, I'm thinking to myself, because you go back to the summer of 2008, the all-time high for a barrel of oil was $147, and I thought to myself, I don't think we'll get there, but it looked like, we were actually on our way to 120. That would have been a very real possibility, but things settled in. President Trump got in front of the media and answered a few questions. I think really the markets look at the Strait of Hormuz right now as more stabilized.
We said
than the uncertainty that was there over the over the previous 72 hours leading up to Monday morning.
Yeah.
So
we said it yesterday. When it's like, well, they have no Navy left.
Yeah. It's about the flow.
Yeah, but U.S. The U.S. said, okay, we'll escort whoever needs to be escorted, and we said that expect that oil prices are going to go down, but they went way up before they came down.
Yeah.
But then they came down so drastically yesterday.
Right.
It was like, okay, there must be some type of confidence in there. I will tell you this, so the oil prices obviously has scared the White House, what they saw yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, it's one more thing, and I think most people know that it's the war in Iran, but still it's something you have to own on pricing politically here domestically. And, and more information coming out about Russia and how they're helping Iran. Then the president, while talking about the Strait of Hormuz and keeping it safe and keeping things flowing through the strait, he actually brought up China. This actually benefits China and other countries. Of course, there was clearly a reason for him to mention that. We're doing them a favor by making sure things are flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. That was the implication there. And I just thought to myself, all right, that's fine. But you do have a problem right now with both Russia and China. Well, I don't think Iran is equipped to act on it, but certainly if they become capable of attacking, of doing anything, the story got out that there was a message sent after the initial strike. Immediately following the initial strike, U.S. intel detected basically a threat that was designed to awaken sleeper cells globally. And so we already know some of their proxies, of course, were at work in that first 24 hours. We don't know. The U.S. intel wasn't specific. They said there wasn't really a specific threat, just basically that U.S. law enforcement agencies need to keep their heads on a swivel and monitor chatter, radioactivity. So you look at where they are now with the intel that Iran might be getting from Russia. I mean, because Iran never had any real intel. They had to buy it from other nations who had the ability to gather that intel, and they've never really had that. Iran's never had that themselves.
Well, I guess I meant that looking at the White House, the messaging was all over the place yesterday.
Oh, no, yeah, that's something totally different than what I was on. It's the whole back and, well, I mean, later in the day, you tell CBS, it's mostly complete. And then later says, well, we could go on for longer. It might not take a couple more weeks, but then again, it might.
Well, there was this quote that got to me. We want a system that can lead to many years of peace, and if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now.
Yeah.
And that's a quote from the president.
Right.
And I went, wow. And that's all because oil prices skyrocketed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I went, wow. But that's, that isn't the messaging that you wish to put out. Now, we said the hard part would be where we're heading in the next couple of weeks. And that is, will the people of Iran wish to take over? And how do you do that? How disabled has the police state become? That had to be a goal of the administration and Israel going into this.
And
now, we did say if you can't get to it, you have severely hurt, even if the Iranian regime stays in, their attempt at nuclear power and infrastructure. And if you keep the sanctions on, it would hurt them tremendously. But this was the chance, and everybody knew it, including the president, of hopefully getting regime change and getting the Iranian people to have more of a democratic government. That was the goal. We talked about the opposition parties, whether it was the former Shah's son or the former, member of the government who was who also is in exile. Every single one of those groups want the same thing, and it was a secular democracy where it's not a theocracy, where the religion does not lead, the government. And the president was indicating all along that that's what he was going to do. So coming out where he said we want a system that can lead to many years of peace, and if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now. You just sent the message to the regime, cause enough disruption, and this is another American president who will back out.
One of the conundrums, one of the many conundrums that they're in, that the administration is in, is, all right, first of all, you're going to have to let the dust settle to find out how solid that police state is. You're not going to commit to boots on the ground. That's not going to happen, at least not yet. And I don't know that it will ever happen in Iran. And then the other conundrum is the mixed messaging on this isn't about regime change while describing how it's about regime change, when it initially started. Right. Now, I wondered yesterday afternoon, I thought, well, wait a minute. Is this the play so that if they get through this and say, well, we're not going to we can't, the roots are too deep and we can't actually get regime change, but we took out their military ability to reach outside of their borders. How they're going to treat their citizens going forward, we can monitor, but what happens internally in Iran, we may not be able to change, but because we can't accomplish complete regime change, but we can take out all of their military ability to reach outside of their borders. And that may have been the play on the mixed messaging about, no, this isn't about regime change. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's just a guess. But we're in the situation now that, again, you're going to have to let the dust settle to find out how much power they actually have internally. How viable is their police state? I'd have to believe internally it's still pretty strong. But again, if they can't defend themselves as a nation from outside forces, then have you broken the will? With Khamenei's son now being the supreme leader, you have to monitor and I guess wait and see what that message is going to be. My thought would have been you keep doing the same thing. Whoever the next supreme leader is now the target. But again, if they're going to stay on this message that it's not about regime change, then obviously they're not going there. And they haven't yet, or they haven't been able to find them.
And then the president said on Monday, we've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the story, Wall Street Journal has a story, aides are telling him, you got to end this thing now.
Right.
Reading here from the Wall Street Journal editorial, Iran is not winning this war, but it might if U.S. stops the bombing due to higher oil prices. Is it time for President Trump to call off the bombing and declare victory in Iran? You'd think so, judging by the panic in Washington as the price of oil spikes. That certainly is the fondest wish of the Ayatollahs, who know they're losing. The reality inside Iran and the region is that the U.S. and Israel continue to make progress. The regime loses more of its military each day, along with the ability to hurt neighbors. The Israelis estimate 70 to 75% of Iran's missile launchers have been destroyed, and the U.S. has destroyed at least 43 Iranian ships. On Monday, the United Arab Emirates received only 18 drones, down from 126 a day over the past week. We'll soon see if that was a blip or a meaningful decline. Central Command's Admiral Brad Cooper said last week that Iran's missile and drone volumes were down 90 and 83% respectively. Attacks on Iran's internal security institutions are intensifying. At 10 days in, the war can hardly be considered prolonged. There's nothing gradual about U.S. or Israeli strategy. Instead, there is a race. Can Iran do enough damage to global energy markets with its remaining missiles and drones before it loses them and must come to terms? Because that's where you're at right now. If you have the ability to take out everything and keep the oil moving, why would you end it?
Right.
And is that where we're at right now? That would be the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, that's part of the waiting for the dust to settle to see how much they've done internally, how much power there really is, how much control internally there really is. We know what we've done to their military ability and to reach, again, outside their borders. But again, part of the list of conundrums is what you just mentioned, and that is there are a lot of people that are watching a clock on this whole thing. They want this thing to be over in a weekend. I'm talking domestically here in the U.S. Politically, when the president said over the weekend that high gas prices are a small price to pay, that's a hard pill to swallow for people that are right now on prices. Still politically, they're not on your side. You're still having to win them over, and you're in a midterm season that is critical because you need the House and the Senate to get your agenda done for the rest of your second term. I mean, you're just at this point now where, and you also can't say mission, you can't have one of these mission accomplished moments and say, yeah, well, we're done, and then it's not done because Iran is still killing their own people, killing their own citizens for protesting. If that is to continue from the regime, from what's left of the regime, the question is, again, how much control do they actually have? I think what settled the markets was not the president necessarily saying we have control of the Strait of Hormuz. It was watching the traffic in the Strait. And the market saying, well, let's see if that's actually the case. And it seemed by, again, all sources that things, again, were more stabilized than what was thought. Because it was a huge question mark. Because if it's done, if you can't get anything through the Strait, that would have been nightmarish for the markets in terms of oil prices for the consumer. And you can't have that. And of course, if you've got oil prices weighing, then that's going to affect what people have available to spend, and the Dow and the Nasdaq and the rest of the markets are reeling as a result of that. It's just, you're in this moment, I think, that we had questions about, and that is, okay, you're not going to have boots on the ground, but you don't know what they have available to them internally to remain in control as a regime. You don't see really any movement on the ground from the citizens because they just simply aren't empowered to make that kind of move right now. They just aren't.
Well, we had said this from the very beginning, that you're promoting regime change while denying it, which you shouldn't do.
Right. It's one of the other.
Because it's obvious. But in order to get regime change, you're depending on things that are completely out of your control, which is how will the people in a foreign country respond, even if the majority agree with what you're doing, if they don't have the weaponry to do so, and the police state is still functioning with the weapons that they have.
Right, right.
That's always been, and we said that from day one, that's the problem. That's the challenge. You're putting your faith, in that, and that's beyond your control.
Right.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And so that's always been the challenge here. Look, it may be, even if you don't have regime change, as we said from day one, and even before day one, knowing that we might go in, we always looked at, what is the actual end game?
Mm-hmm.
If the end game, if there's a number of goals, one of them to deplete the ability of Iran for the next decade to project any type of military power, you probably accomplish what you wish to accomplish if you continue with the sanctions.
Right.
And then you continually go after them if you think that they're rebuilding.
Right.
You put them under control. Now, there may be a huge civil war going on because you continue to do that over and over again. And you continue, even though it's not officially at war, you continue to target and help the Mossad do what they need to do to assassinate more leaders.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you cut off, again, their ability to do anything with energy. And that's where you see an implosion. Again, how empowering is that to the citizens of Iran to overthrow what's left of the regime? I don't know.
And politically, can you sell that in the United States?
Right.
We have a line open. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. With the oil markets doing what they did yesterday, and we've talked about this. We believe that the president should have had everybody in a room. Everybody agreed what the talking points were. On the military action in Iran, and then he should have held a primetime speech.
Yeah, I was really waiting for that. I thought it was going to happen.
So did I. And the fact is, that's what you do. You explain things to the American people as to, what's going on. The other thing I think that was a problem was, again, and we've said this over and over again, claiming that it's not about regime change as you continue to talk about regime change.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing is, things are easy to understand. Wars are easy to understand. Prices are easy to understand.
Yeah.
And you can explain it, in a way. We hope to get regime change, but if we don't, we destabilize them for a decade, and we will continue to go after them, and we will, starve out the Iranian government. But when the plan was from the beginning, the president's first 8-minute speech was, get ready, Iranian people, to take over your government. So this is regime change? No, because we're not going to do it on our own. And then over the weekend, the president says, well, I'll have a say in who gets, to be the new leader of Iran. And it's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the messaging when you're at war in the United States has to be precise, or you could lose the public very quickly. Now, the one thing that was out there, it was the YouGov poll that showed that if it just lasts weeks, you accomplish the goals that the president stated, it showed that the American public overwhelmingly was with the president.
Yeah.
You saw that.
Yeah.
But they panicked. There were two things yesterday. They panicked on prices yesterday, on oil prices. And that scared the White House. That's why the messaging was all over the place. And by the time that oil prices went down again, it was like, well, no, we're going to go and we're going to make sure we finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was, as you know, they're really shook about prices right now and affordability. The president yesterday outlined 5 key items he believes will tip the upcoming midterm elections in the GOP favor if Republicans can muscle them through Congress. Quote, no transgender mutilation surgery for our children, voter ID, citizenship verification, mail-in ballots. We don't want men playing in women's sports. What's not in there?
Pricing, affordability.
Talking about the economy and how great the economy is. We had said this a long time ago. Biden lost because he promoted that inflation wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell you that things are doing great when the public judges by their own economy what they feel each and every day. This administration has done everything they possibly can to tell the American people that the economy is great. And in some areas, it is. But to the public, the only thing that matters is prices.
Yep.
What they feel each and every day. You and I said it yesterday. Productivity for last year looked really good. That could be AI.
Mm-hmm.
Job creation has been 0 over the last 10 months. Manufacturing has lost 80,000 jobs. The trade deficit has not changed.
Right.
And the president lost to the Supreme Court on the tariffs. He'll most likely lose on Section 122. In fact, we made the argument yesterday. It's probably even clearer legally because he keeps saying Section 122 is he legally can do it because it's about balance of trade. No, it's about balance of payments, which is a completely different thing. And everybody in the financial world knows that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to lose that. When you have the Democrat attorney generals quoting Milton Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was mind-boggling watching that. And so the 5 things that they say the GOP needs to focus on, nothing is on the economy, to promote how great the economy is, to the fact that we've lowered prices. Not mentioned.
I was telling you during the break, it's a lot like what I've probably told my kids or, any young people in my life. Well, if there's something you can do about it and you're not doing it, then quit talking about it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do anything about it, don't bring it up.
By the way, I believe this is the right strategy right now. I don't disagree. I want to make this clear. I don't disagree with the strategy.
Just move away from it.
Yeah.
But because if the more you tell people things are great and they're struggling with prices, the more of a problem it is for you politically. You're just not going to, again, there's not going to be a change with tariffs until the courts act, and we don't know how soon that will be. He started with the day the judgment came down from the Supreme Court, the clock started on the 150 days on the current 10% tariffs. So that's going to get you way too close to election time. That's 5 months. And if you're not going to reverse it by then, or if there's not a stay by the courts by then nothing changes. Move away from it. Quit talking about it. Move on. Talk about go back to the State of the Union address and talk about how crazy the Democrats are and point to them and, show over and over again what they want to do. Talk about the borders being secure. Talk about the world being more secure as Iran and the regime has fallen or whatever it's going to be. But you talk about anything but pricing. And I don't know how you get away with that in your home district in the House, because there is nothing more pressing than that. It's a daily occurrence for people in terms of issues they deal with.
I'll give you an example. Yesterday, on my street, everybody's in a group text. I don't really participate much, and they don't get political at all. But the only thing that everybody was talking about yesterday morning, everybody going back and forth. All right, where's a place we can fill up at a cheaper price today?
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that the group text from my neighborhood was talking about yesterday.
Yeah. And everybody might be able to look at it and go, okay, yeah, Iran needed to be taken out, but still, I can't afford this. Because, and again, that's the problem with saying something like it's a small price to pay over the weekend. I would have phrased it as it is temporary. Prices will stabilize very quickly. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, we said it yesterday. Yeah. We said, well, if it's true, if they're escorting the tankers and and other countries come in to help, you're going to see oil prices go down quickly. I didn't think they were going to rise as fast as they did, then come down as quickly as they did.
Yeah, it was a wild ride.
A little bit of a jittery market there.
If Six Flags had rides like that, I'd be going back to Six Flags.
I tell you, the oil markets took more G's than I did when I flew with the Thunderbirds in an F-16.
Exactly. I'm going to pass out.
But I think right now that's what they have to do, because the worst thing, and we've told this to the White House over and over again, do not tell people that what they are feeling is not what they're feeling.
Right.
When it comes to prices.
Right.
Biden lost the White House. I believe that's the number one reason. Mm-hmm. I believe immigration and also the radical transgender movement helped push in that particular direction.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, too, when you look at it, the Democratic Party, Scott Jennings was saying yesterday, does anybody actually believe we should keep the Department of Homeland Security not funded while everything like this is going on right now? Does anybody believe it with the Iranian terror cells, whatever?
Right.
And you would think the Democratic Party would jump and go, okay, we still disagree with the president, but the Department of Homeland Security is necessary, and because of the president's wrong actions.
Right.
Even if they said that.
Yeah,
they don't.
He's made. If you want to go that route, he's made us less safe. We got to do this.
Right. Exactly.
Right, yeah.
They won't do that. Why? Because they believe they're bulletproof. They believe that they can hold every single radical position that no major political party has ever held in the history of the United States, and their voters will say, okay. I'm going through that article that I told you about yesterday, the City Journal research that they did on Democrats, whether the Democrat voter actually agrees, with the Democrats in the House and in the Senate. And it said, no, they're actually more moderate. And I was going through it, and it's like, that's what they're claiming to the polls. But the fact is, they're not more moderate. They may want to be moderate, but they're not voting that way, and they're not actively coming out and telling their party. Very few people are.
Look, they could be saying whatever at the kitchen table. Remember that whole thing, kitchen table? Yeah. But as long as they're pulling the lever for those people to be the radicals that are in power, you're a radical. You're either on their side or not.
I saw Bill Maher with the podcaster Sam Harris. Both Democrats, and they were talking about the radical transgender movement. They're going, this is really crazy of how we actually hold this position over and over and over again. And I went, wow. Except for maybe Bill Maher. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the only Democrat I know that's willing to speak out and say this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't speak out on it. Voting's one thing. Speaking out, you can still speak out and say, I'm speaking out. They're wrong for doing this, but I'm still going to vote for them because I like this, this, and this. You don't even hear that. There is no attempt at justification for the things that the left believes. Think about this. I saw the poll the other day, and I know it's an early poll. But Tallarico's up on whoever the Republicans run for November.
Yep.
This is the state of Texas. He's a nutcase.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely nutty. He's got a childlike mentality, and he's crazy on the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats, even in Texas, don't care.
No.
They don't care. Which means
you can be crazy, don't have crazy eyes.
Which means they may tell the pollster, "Oh no, we're more moderate," but in reality, they're not, because we know it. If Republicans disagree with Republicans, they talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
where they disagree, Democrats won't.
No.
Well, we'll tell the pollster, "Is this anonymous?" But I'm not going to tell the Democratic Party I agree with them. Is it intimidation?
I think there's some of that. I don't know. It's also, I think, in part, and again, can't measure it. Get Scott Rasmussen on the phone, please. I have to believe that in part it's, well, again, boil the frog slowly. We don't need Jasmine Crockett. She's radical too, but she's too loud. Tallarico comes off as someone who's not loud. He's serious. See, he's radical, but see, he's serious. He grapples like Obama. Well, but that for them, they see that as a winning strategy.
But they're the party of racism with identity politics.
Yes.
They admit it.
Yes.
They're the party of anti-Semitism.
Yep.
They're the party of misogyny and sexism with the radical transgender movement.
Right.
Just those things alone.
Yeah.
They don't want voter ID. Where the vast majority of there was a new poll out. Even more people believe now in voter ID and being a citizen. 71% of Democrats. It doesn't matter what they say. They don't vote that way.
Nope.
So we're not talking one issue. We're talking all the major issues.
Yep.
We don't care.
You're either a radical or you're not.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, one thing I did like what Trump said yesterday, he said, look, there's a lot more damage we could do, but we don't want you to do it. We want to see what happens. And that's how the people respond. So what's going on behind the scenes? How do you get the people to respond? Does Trump get out there and say, okay, now take the streets? He talked about the fact of, and you and I had talked about this a lot, we haven't taken down the electrical grid. We haven't done a lot of things for the infrastructure that could help destroy Iran for decades, but it would hurt the people. That's the challenge that you had from day one.
Yeah, right. And you're still, I mean, it's very delicate internally there in Iran now. Because you don't really know, again, how solid that police state still might be.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I mean, I think we're in a fascinating time in politics, you know, right now. Just during the top of the hour, just looking at, some of the stories out there. Democrats say, no, we're not going to fund DHS. No, we're not going to do it. We don't care what happens at the airport. We don't care that there may be sleeper cells. We don't care the terrorist attack, you know, in New York City near the mayor's mansion. We don't care. We just don't care. Why? Because there's no consequences for it. Right. And they even look at it because, you know, Republicans are coming out every day with the latest polls. Republicans aren't. The pollsters are, and Republicans are commenting on them. Democrats sink to a new voter low. A new national poll is the latest to indicate Democrats are facing major problems with the party's image. Just 30% of registered voters in an NBC News poll view the Democratic Party positively compared to 52% who view it negatively. The poll, the latest over the past year, to indicate the Democratic Party brand, in some cases, are hitting historic lows, comes as Democrats aim to escape the political wilderness and win back the House and Senate majorities. Let me see, 37% of registered voters say that they view the Republican Party positively, with 51% seeing the GOP in negative light. We've seen other polls that show the Democratic Party at historic lows.
Right.
Doesn't matter to them. They go, it doesn't matter. The people, Democrats believe the people want crazy. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
Because,
but they also, you can look at it as, they're crazy, but I'm still going to vote for them. Their image is bad, but I'm still with them, and I'm going to be, because we go back to leading up to the mayoral election in New York City, where a huge chunk of people that said, I'm still going to vote for the guy, believed Mamdani's ideas would not work. I can't explain that one to you. And it's really where the Democratic Party is. And the question is, can they be bat soup crazy and still win? And the answer is yes. The imagery of it is horrible. You don't want to look at it, but come election day, you're going to vote for it. And that's the problem. You can point to the crazy all day. Where they lose is the battle with parents on this legal battle they're in for transgender surgery for kids, mutilation surgery for children. You're never going to win that with parents. You're just not. But on a lot of the other crazy stuff that doesn't affect them every day, you're going to get the polls are going to come back and say, man, they're crazy. And then come election day, they're still going to win some races.
Well, I was over the weekend, I was driving the car. I'm glad you brought that up about New York City because I wanted to relate this. Going down the road, and I've got, in my phone probably, 5,000 songs. I mean, I have downloaded them all, and basically the vast majority came from CDs. I spent like 3 months 15 years ago transferring everything to digital. And I just like, having the music, but I got tons of songs on it. And a song came up. I only have one song from this band. And the song is called Salvador, and the band's name is Your Vegas. Now, anybody who watched, and it was the Spike Lee documentary that they did on the rebuilding of the World Trade Center that came out like maybe 2005, 2006, on the actual construction workers and everything involved in it. And that's the lead-in to it.
Right.
And
right.
It fits perfect. I think the lyrics are, over the river, looking at the hero and his lover. And you think of first responders at 9/11 and everybody that was lost at that point.
Right.
And every time I hear that song, every single time I hear it, I'm almost brought to tears because you know what I think of? I think of Falling Man. Mm-hmm. I think of those people in the World Trade Center that had to make the choice and say, am I going to die my way or die by the terrorist way? And so they decided to jump. I'll never forget the one photographer saying, you could almost see the determination to tell the terrorists where they could go. You're not going to determine, when I die, I will. That has never left me the horror, the absolute. None of us can imagine being in that kind of position and making that type of final decision with our lives. Those were Americans that had to make that decision. Those were Americans that were murdered in a terrorist attack who had to make the most horrible decision. And here we are, 25 years later, with somebody who is sympathetic, is a anti-Semite, is pro-Islamic radicalism, and a communist, and he leads the city of New York.
Mm-hmm. He's one of the party leaders. Right. As a mayor.
Yeah. Never forget, New York City went, what the hell? Let's celebrate 9/11.
Here we are. I mean, look, after October 7th,
yeah.
I've said it I don't know how many times, you're going to have, if there were another 9/11 type attack on American soil, you're going to see protesters cheering the enemy.
Think about in that short time. And so the fact that my point is the Democrats are going, we can be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The more Trump calls us crazy, we believe we're getting people going, we like crazy.
Yeah.
Because Trump doesn't like crazy. How crazy can we get?
Right. Well, because if they believe chaos works in their favor, even if a large number of the rank and file, a plurality or just a huge chunk of them, whatever it is, says, no, that's not the way I'm going to behave, they're still voting for them.
Yeah. And they won't come out against them.
No.
It's not even, you can see it. I've said it. There are things I disagree with on Trump, and I'll point out exactly what they are, but I'll still vote for him because here's where the other side stands on the issues. You and I articulate it every day. Every Republican that I know articulates exactly how they feel, what they agree and disagree with, that I know. And you don't see that on the other side. And so unless I see that coming from Democrats, and as I've said, the Democrats that I know don't speak at all anymore. They don't say anything. where they may be challenged. They might be on blue sky where they're not challenged, but they're not anywhere in the arena of ideas. You don't see the politicians attempting to defend what they believe. Watch, as the perfect example, watch Newsom squirm around and worm around and deflect and do whatever he possibly can, but will never confront the issue directly because he knows he can't win it, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't care if he can't win it. Just be crazy. Look at, what was the latest from Tallarico? Got the latest video that came out of what he said. Oh, my God, it was just, you're just like, he's a nutcase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, look at how long it took for Democrats to recognize how weak Newsom is. We go back to when he was on the city council in San Francisco. And it was like, well, watch this guy. He's being too loud to not want to be on the rise. And, of course, he was. And then after his bungling of handling the wildfires and a number of other things, I would say the debate with the governor of Florida, DeSantis, probably didn't help along the way. You see how weak he is. But this is a guy who also won a recall. Think about that. The win doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be a huge blue wave. They just need to win.
Yeah. And that's why when you sit there and you think in any other time, the Democrats would have come out and said, look, Trump's going to war and we disagree with it, but we need to fund Homeland Security because we don't want Americans being killed. They can't do that.
No.
They can't even do that. They have to sit there and say, no, we wish to put the nation in danger so we can have illegal immigrant criminals on the street. That's their message.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is a great message. And we believe that we can win on this messaging.
Yeah.
We'll see whether they can or not, but that's what they believe.
Well, I'll tell you, again, you get back down to the districts and everything is going to be about pricing.
This
is the problem in the House is that you go home to campaign in your district. It doesn't matter what the talking points are from the top. You're going to have to answer questions. And I don't know. There are no answers.
No, but yeah, I think you just added to it. Democrats look, as long as prices are a problem with the American public, we win no matter what insane position we take.
Yep. I mean, that's really they're clearly their position. If things were, if the economy was booming, I mean, the Democrats may be in the rear view right now with very little hope of winning the House or Senate for years to come. If pricing wasn't an issue. Again, not everything in the economy, as you mentioned earlier, not everything in the economy is bad. But pricing is still an issue. And if you're not going to focus on it, if there's not going to be any focus on it, and again, this started even before last year when they were getting ready for the midterm. This should have been the focus when they were getting ready for the 24 election. It should have been, all right, what are we going to do? Because we can't promise to bring prices down because inflation at a target rate of 2% is always going to mean that prices go up. So we got to get in and we've got to just make the economy boom, 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 boom. But we can't promise to bring prices down. Because once you do, you own it. And at the end of last year, you had a number of people saying, whatever you're going to do it now. And I don't know how many people hedged or I guess, put everything in one basket waiting for SCOTUS to deliver. But you and I looked at that and said, well, based on what Bessent is saying and a couple of things the president has said leading up to the SCOTUS decision, they clearly had a backup plan. They were not going to let this, because Bessent basically said it. This is what we're going to do, and it's exactly what they ended up doing the day of the SCOTUS decision. And here we are. So I didn't think anything was going to change, and it seems the market had kind of priced that in as well. But you're not going to see anything between now and the end of that 5-month period unless the court steps in with a stay. But there's no proactive movement. The point is, if you're going to do something, you should have done it a long time ago. I don't have any confidence there's going to be any change coming directly from them, their action. Yeah, any change would probably come from the court.
Yeah, we said that late last year. But even if the court does it, the court does it, I don't know if prices will come down quick enough. I don't know.
I don't think
I don't think they'll come down, but will they moderate? And then if you solve the Iran thing, if gas prices come crashing down,
right?
There's still a lot that can happen between now and November. But the number one thing is prices,
right?
Still,
to
the American public.
Mm-hmm.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Farm security is national security. And from that context, USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan involves interagency partners on the federal, state, and local levels to protect our nation's ag sector.
Across the federal community, we have different perspectives, different interests, and different stakeholders. But we all share the belief that protecting U.S. agriculture protects the United States from its adversaries.
That's USDA Office of Homeland Security Director Matt Allen speaking at this year's Agricultural Outlook Forum. He notes Agriculture Department collaboration with agencies such as the Treasury and War Departments in protecting threats to all areas of ag, from farmland itself to biotech.
Agriculture is highly technical and sophisticated, perfectly measured and adapted to maximize productivity.
Hence the need through these partnerships to share information regarding security vulnerabilities in agriculture and develop novel technical solutions and innovations to farm-based challenges. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. James Carville, who's been talking about the crazy in the Democratic Party, I think decided that he's going to become crazy now, too. Cannot play the audio because there's too much curse words in it.
No.
But he actually said over the weekend, I've got Trump derangement syndrome. I hate the MFer. And you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want it to get better. I want it to get worse. I want to hate him more. I pray to God in heaven, God, rain the righteous rain of Trump derangement syndrome on me. Pray for me, Lord. I'm your vessel on this earth. Pray for people that listen to this. We want more. We want to hate the son of a bee so much that we can't see straight. I just don't have it, man. I want it. I don't want it to get better. I want it to get worse. I want to invoke the name of Providence, the name of the Almighty, He who rules the world and the King of us all, the King of Kings. I want His blessing. I want to have a vision tonight where I'm sleeping. I want the Lord to appear to me and say, James, you are my humble servant. You are executing thy will on this earth. And I want you to tell all the friends and all the people that will listen to you or whatever, blankety blank, we got here. Wow.
Praying
to
for
hate.
more hatred in your heart.
He's praying for more hatred. Democrats believe that's the key to victory.
Well, first of all, kind of ironic because now liberals are going to hate him for praying.
No, Tallarico has made it so they've all found God, and they can interpret God in their own way to even promote hate.
Right.
God wants me to hate.
Right. They won't be, the next time around at their convention, booing God. They'll be praising God, but they'll tell you God is okay with abortion.
Well, they may be confusing God for,
The other guy?
The church lady would say, Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley. Coming up here in just a couple of minutes, the National Park Service announces a return of Independence Day fireworks to Mount Rushmore. And I did mention Church Lady before.
Oh? Yeah.
We'll actually have something that relates to that coming up.
All right, more on the conversation coming up. Want to talk to you about, I mentioned just yesterday about the project I did for my dad. I was using power tools. I love using power tools. But before taking Relief Factor, if I was out working all day with power tools, my hands, the inflammation would be just horrible the next day. Sometimes I still wake up the next day going, okay, where's the inflammation? Where's the pain? It's not there because of Relief Factor, and you can get that too. My dad always tells me, worry about the things you can control. With Relief Factor, you can manage your pain. Drug-free. In fact, Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that goes to the source of your inflammation. You need to try it. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start. Just $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com. 800-4RELIEF is the number. 800, the number 4RELIEF. ReliefFactor.com. 800-4RELIEF. Use Red Eye in the drop-down for your 3-week quick start at $19.95.
Eric, the National Park Service announced yesterday the return of Independence Day fireworks to Mount Rushmore. By the way, that was the scene of one of Trump's best speeches ever. Remember that?
Yeah. That one will always remain.
Following a 5-year absence, the fireworks will be launched Friday, July 3rd. A lottery will be held for public tickets for the event in partnership with the state of South Dakota. We are excited to reinstate a spectacular fireworks show at the highlight of Mount Rushmore's Independence Day commemoration. We invite the public to enjoy the show and reflect on our nation's remarkable journey and the great patriotic leaders who established, persevered, and expanded our country's destiny. In 2021, the National Park Service denied a request from South Dakota for fireworks at Mount Rushmore to celebrate the 4th of July. The following year, then South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem said that the National Park Service denied her request for fireworks at Mount Rushmore for Independence Day because the Democrats don't want to celebrate Independence Day.
Right. Yeah. I wonder, there's going to be, with the big 250 thing going on, there's going to be a ton of protests out there. It's going to happen.
Well, I think, in order to be fair, that we should have Independence Day for most of us and Dependence Day
that's brilliant.
For the Democrats.
And they can hand in their freedom card on Dependence Day. Here you go.
Yes.
Here's my freedom card. Now, control my life.
But see, that's one of the other things. I mean, it was fireworks, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
I mean, what could be more American than that?
Right.
Democrats can't have it.
Right. No, they can't.
Now, when we look at the election here, I'd mentioned Church Lady, and this was I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and I went, wow. And I think we played this before. They didn't say this yesterday. This was a couple of months back. But I mentioned Church Lady, that the Democrats are confusing God with Satan.
Satan.
And then I realized that I had seen David Spade and, what's his name? The other one. No. Mike Myers.
Oh, Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey, yes.
Yeah, on their podcast.
Yeah, because Dana Carvey does church lady.
Right.
But this is interesting because this is, when you look at it now, prices don't affect them as much as people that don't have as much money as they do. Mm-hmm. But still, what's on their mind living in California? Because one of the things we've talked about is, I worry about the midterm because I understand how prices can affect how people will vote for insane things if they believe the prices will come down, even if that's the party that denied inflation to begin with, that was much worse and caused the problem, which we're still trying to solve today.
Right.
But I look long-term at the Democratic Party, and the problem is socialism doesn't work.
Yeah, right.
That's why I don't fear socialism taking over the United States, because it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, as we see already, people leave, companies leave. See Yamaha leaving California?
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, at some point, you can't afford to stay.
And so long-term, socialism is doomed in the United States. Especially, we did that poll the other day. The majority of Democrats that support socialism don't even know what it is.
Right.
Sounds good.
Right.
But here's this back and forth between David Spade and Dana Carvey. Here we go.
The same broader problem with people paying taxes in California when they're building a $100 billion train to Sacramento, San Francisco area. That I don't know if everyone's clamoring for it when you could take $10 billion and probably fix a lot of problems in California. But they keep pushing this 10-year thing about the train. That's just one of the crazy things. The homeless, they lose $20 billion, but they want more money for it. Well, that's why people get tired of paying taxes and going, well, what are you doing? Gavin Newsom just vetoed a bill asking for an audit of where the money for homeless goes. He said, not a chance. You're not going to see that. That's
well, I don't think anyone could disagree with this. There are states, I don't have them offhand, who basically you go to their website and they tell you where all the money's going.
Yeah.
Line by line. Maybe it's thousands of pages a year, but you can see where it's going. So when he's behind the curtain, don't pay attention to Gavin Newsom, it's a little bit
just frustrating because you go,
Yeah.
you can't ask for more. I mean, if someone's if you're in a household and someone's blowing all the money, you go, what are you spending it on? Don't worry about it. Just give us more money. You go, well, I'd like to see something. And if it's fixing homeless, great, but don't just take it and then be like, homeless has gotten worse. You go,
it's like,
but you just,
excuse me, Gavin Newsom, excuse me. Could we ask where the $20 billion went? Or
that's a great question, but no.
Garth, I'm sorry.
That was Garth asking?
It was Garth, a little bit of Garth. But
I love that because I was thinking, he sounds like Garth in that moment.
But the only reason I bring that up is they're mostly not political.
Right.
They're always
certainly not to the point where you just lined out. That's a very big political issue is the spending. But that was a big deal in California when it came down about they spent all of this money on the homeless and nobody really knows what was done. And apparently nothing was. And then he makes the point that he vetoed the audit. And it's like, well, proof that Saturday Night Live is conservative propaganda. Number one. But it's, by the way, it's a joke. But no, you look at where, people are affected by what's going on. This is something that helps Republicans. Because But the Democrats in California aren't going to change in terms of how they vote, right? It's not going to, the state's not going to go red. But when you see what Democrats in the blue states are doing, and you see the growth in the red states, then there is that effect. I don't know how much it moves the needle in a midterm. Again, my confidence, look, we come in and clean the slate and say, okay, even without tariffs or prices being an issue, you and I have had concerns for years when it comes to the GOP and their ability or inability to actually get the message across and campaign properly. It's just been it's worse than pulling teeth. Pulling teeth is easy compared to this, trying to tell them exactly how to get it done. And if you look at everything, so then you put everything back on the plate that people are dealing with, reality. And that's where it changes. That's where you've got to wonder, which is worse? What if pricing affects people every single day? And is the crazy on the blue side affecting their numbers? It might be, but they might still win elections in big ways, which includes the House in the fall. I go back to the margins to begin with of the Senate and the House. Given the comeback in 24 by Donald Trump, man, the GOP should have just been able to really knock it out of the park and had a much bigger margin. But that margin is just slowly eroding.
But remember, when Trump got elected, his party, the people and independents, were solidly behind the fact that the economy would rebound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because of tariffs.
Right.
So the public wanted the tariffs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now they're saying, but prices are too high. Now, is there a disconnect between...
Well,
is there a disconnect in the public
and
independents, whatever?
There may be two different groups there that,
Do they not associate tariffs with that if you're trying to bring down prices, as we've stated before, even if you believe it's justifiable, and there are justifiable reasons to use tariffs, but even if you believe there's justifiable reason for tariffs, you are increasing the cost of doing business, which is the opposite of bringing prices down when the public first is concerned with bringing prices down.
Right.
It's like Doge. You go to the public, and the public will say, absolutely, we got to do something about the debt. We have to do something about the debt. And what are we going to do about the debt? Well, we're going to cut. Well, what are you going to cut? Well, what do you want cut?
We're going to start in your neighborhood. Well, no.
And as we know, the majority of the population, all the latest polls, the majority of the population say raise the spending on everything except foreign aid.
Right.
And we can cut the budget. So the public...
Which hasn't, by the way, that sentiment hasn't changed on foreign aid in, I don't know, decades, it seems.
Decades, right. And then, again, when Trump came out, and he talked about who he's going to give money to. I forgot who it was. Yeah. And they said, what do you mean? You said you didn't want to... Well, no. We said we didn't want to give the wrong foreign aid.
Who was talking about that yesterday? I saw a clip, and they were on it, and it was like, this is the problem that we have here. And we play something? I don't know if we played an audio clip too. Somebody else was kind of on that same line of thought. And that's the problem. It goes back to the 2016 election, the day after the election in Harlem, a kind of an impromptu man on the street poll taking by the Wall Street Journal. Why do you think Trump won and Hillary lost? Because he was talking about things at home, and she was talking about things elsewhere. And you saw that, too, in 24. Because how many in the MAGA group thought he's an isolationist?
But Democrats have turned it around on him, though.
Oh, yeah.
You see it on social media every day. What? The president in Venezuela, he's over here doing this. Now he's trying to free the people of Iran. What about the people of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of independents are saying, yeah, what about that? He said, we thought he was going to take care of Americans first. He seems to be doing everything for every other country except for us.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what he is doing, and this is what he is doing is correct in doing what he's doing. It's going to make the world a safer place.
Oh, yeah.
And in the long run, if it all succeeds, it will reduce the amount that we and the world have to, pay on defense.
Right. Yeah.
It is the correct thing to do to modernize Western civilization to democracies, move them in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Interesting to see whether, who's going to cave on the whole DHS thing. I saw that Vance was off the yesterday saying, look, we're willing to compromise, but Democrats are saying give us everything or you get no funding.
Right.
And he goes, but the DHS is funded through 2029, so what are you doing here? What you're saying is give us everything or we close down the Department of Homeland Security while we're at war and Iranian sleeper cells maybe in the United States.
Right. You can't win that.
They believe they can.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.